Hello and welcome to News Now. I'm your host, Taylor Inman. We're going over the biggest headlines this week for Northwest Montana. Flathead County commissioners last week signed off on a 1,700-acre deluxe resort in Lakeside. Commissioner Pam Holmquist remarked that this is the most thorough application for a development she's seen in her 15 years as a county commissioner, while pointing out there are more than 30 conditions that must be met as part of the preliminary plat. Holmquist told the crowd, quote, "It's a lengthy process, but I think it's a good process, and I think it's something that we should go through when we're looking at developments," end quote. In the discussion leading up to the unanimous vote, Commissioner Brad Abel foresaw a multitude of job opportunities to come out of the project's development. Abel said they looked at a lot of comments on the development, adding that, quote, "We don't consider wealth or lack of wealth of future revenues. State law does not allow us." The contentious members-only resort backed by Arizona-based Discovery Land Company is planned to include 2 golf courses, a fitness center, spa, restaurants, and 359 residential lots, set to be built west of US 93 near Blacktail Mountain. It was standing room only during the commissioners' meeting as several Lakeside residents took advantage of the opportunity to voice their concerns one last time before county officials. Lakeside resident Tanya Kidd said, quote, "It will change our culture forever. It'll mess up our community and small town feeling. The only people that want this are the people that are going to make a lot of money off of it. The residents don't want it," end quote. The project has drawn widespread criticism from Lakeside residents who argue the new subdivision will permanently change the town's rural way of life. Critics of the resort, formerly dubbed Flathead Lake Club, allege it will increase traffic in an already congested area, negatively impact water quality of Flathead Lake, and strain water and sewer systems. Representatives of Discovery Land Company have touted benefits of the resort to include the creation of seasonal and year-round job opportunities and additional tax revenue. The project is set to be constructed in 5 phases with an anticipated completion date of March of 2028. Discovery Land Company operates 3 other resorts in Montana: Yellowstone Club in Big Sky, Crazy Mountain Ranch in Shields Valley, and Iron Horse and Whitefish. A colony of bats near the Libby Dam tested positive for the fungus that causes white nose syndrome, marking the first detection of the deadly disease in western Montana. Since it was first observed in New York in 2006, white nose syndrome has killed millions of bats across the U.S. and Canada. The disease is caused by a cold-loving fungus which colonizes the skin of bats. As the fungus grows, it eats lesions into the bat's wings and begins to disrupt physiological systems, including the bat's hibernation cycles. Infected bats wake up frequently during the winter. The increased activity eventually leads to starvation as the bat depletes its fat reserves. State bat biologist for Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, Shannon Hilty, said this is probably one of, if not the most, detrimental wildlife diseases seen in North America. The disease is not only deadly, often killing 90 to 100% of bats in infected colonies, but also is highly infectious, with detections now recorded in 45 U.S. states and 10 Canadian provinces. Biologists unearthed the first signs of the fungus in eastern Montana in 2020, but Hilty said she hadn't expected the disease to crop up as far west as Lincoln County. Every spring, state biologists swab bats at more than 30 roosting sites across the state as part of an ongoing effort to monitor the spread of white nose syndrome. This year was the first time a sample from western Montana returned a positive result. The positive samples were collected from a group of about 1,500 Yuma myotis and little brown bats roosting in bat boxes near Libby Dam. While the fungus was detected, Hilty said none of the bats showed symptoms of white nose syndrome when researchers collected the samples in May. She said that's pretty typical, as there's usually a lag between the detection of the fungus and the detection of the disease. Both species hibernate, making them susceptible to white nose syndrome. A study published in Conservation Biology found that the number of little brown bats in particular had declined by 90% between 1995 and 2018 in areas where white nose syndrome was present. That sort of drop could have cataclysmic effect for communities in northwestern Montana. The 15 bats native to Montana are all insectivores and provide the state with an equivalent of $680 million a year in agricultural pest control, according to Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks. But Hilty said there are reasons to be optimistic about the fate of the Libby colony. In many areas, bats hibernate in large colonies, which can facilitate the spread of fungi and other pathogens. But scientists believe bats in western Montana are more likely to tuck themselves into rocky crevasses or beneath the eaves of a house to hibernate alone. Technological advancements are also providing wildlife managers with more options to contain the disease, including a promising new vaccine that is currently being tested in Glacier National Park. Last summer, a team of researchers administered the oral vaccine to 75 little brown bats captured near St. Mary. Another 75 bats received a placebo vaccine. The team will use tracking devices to monitor the bats over several years and track their long-term survival. Researchers believe the vaccine is most effective when it is received before bats are exposed to white nose syndrome, but trials in areas already infected by the fungus have also proven promising. In 2021, scientists immunized a colony of bats in Minnetonka Cave in Idaho after detecting the fungus. As of 2024, symptoms of white nose syndrome have yet to emerge. Hilty is hopeful a similar vaccination effort could help stall the spread of the disease in the Libby colony. She said they are preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. The state is still awaiting results from samples taken this spring from 2 caves in western Montana. Sites in Glacier National Park and Eureka tested negative for the fungus. Guano samples from the North Shore Wildlife Management Area were inconclusive. A site in Bonner County, Idaho also tested positive for white nose syndrome this year. As part of an ongoing monitoring effort, state wildlife officials are encouraging residents to contact their local field office if they find a dead bat between the months of December and May. Bat mortalities in the winter are a strong indicator of white nose syndrome. Officials noted that residents need not to report bat mortalities during other times of the year. While white nose syndrome only affects bats, other diseases including rabies can be transmitted from bats to people. Use protective gear, including gloves when handling a bat carcass. Secure the carcass in a Ziploc bag or other disposable airtight containers before transporting to the nearest wildlife office. State biologists are also seeking landowners to assist with bat monitoring efforts on their property. If interested, contact state bat biologist Shannon Hilty at shannon.hilty@mt.gov. Park officials may turn off the tap at Logan Pass as heavy visitation diminishes the area's limited water supply. Facilities at Logan Pass, including plumbed restrooms and water filling stations, are primarily supplied by meltwater from a nearby ice field and summer rainfall. The system dates back to 1963 when the park received fewer than 1 million visitors a year. This year, more than 1.34 million people visited the park in June and July alone. While that number is on par with previous summers, the amount of water being used at Logan Pass visitor centers have increased significantly, according to the August 22nd press release. In recent years, the facilities typically consumed between 5,000 and 6,000 gallons of water a day. This summer, the water usage has averaged around 8,000 gallons a day. Long-term weather patterns have done little to offset increased demand. Between October of 2024 and August 2025, weather stations at Flat Top Mountain and Mini Glacier reported around 80% of average precipitation. The park is observing that the water is being used faster than it is replaced, according to the press release. To manage the shortage, officials may close the restrooms at Logan Pass between the hours of 5:30 p.m. and 8:30 a.m. Vault toilets remain open and available to visitors. Water filling stations are also expected to remain open, but visitors are encouraged to be prepared and bring their own potable water. Water at Logan Pass will be turned off for the season on September 7th. Earlier this year, officials revealed plans to repair and update much of Glacier National Park's water distribution system. A portion of the project, scheduled to begin in June of 2027, is intended to address water demand and rehabilitate infrastructure at Logan Pass. Thanks for joining us. News Now is a podcast from the Daily Interlake. We're proud to be the largest independent newsroom in Montana and the longest continuously published newspaper in the region. Today's stories were written by Daily Interlake reporters Hannah Shields and Haley Smalley. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode of the pod. Everybody stay safe and have a great week. Thanks to our sponsor, Lauren's Auto Repair at 1309 U.S. Highway 2 in Kalispell. Most consistently rated 5-star shop serving the Kalispell area. Visit lawrencauto.com.